activated now, but both channels should now get the stream.
Cool.
Great. So first of all, everyone here who's watching, sorry for the mess up with the links. We had an error where it was streamed to a different YouTube event. So you may have been sitting here waiting for this thing to start, and it started already 10 minutes ago. But at least now it's streamed to both channels. People, you should all be ready to able to join. So just to recap things very, very quickly, we have a special nice guest here today, Štěpán, who brought really nice questions about Power Query, advanced things beyond the UI. Will be really interesting. If you want to join, you can join us at the kahoot.it webpage, or you can download the Kahoot app and enter this game pin. Either way, all you need to do is enter the app or enter kahoot.it, and you will be prompted for this game pin, and you should be able to join. So just to give people who may have been in a different channel chance to join, we are going I'm going to ask you again, Štěpán, what did you prepare for us today, so people who didn't hear it the first time can hear it again this time?
Okay, I've prepared some questions about the Power Query, but from a slightly different perspective, because lots of people know Power Query only from a UI level. So no, we are not here to be answering the question from the UI perspective. We will be talking about the coding stuff. Yep, it will be fun.
So yeah. So it is. You didn't bring us the easy questions on how do we filter a column by 2 clicks. That's not the target for today. Okay. I think people have joined from the other channel, and I'm not seeing new faces popping up like every second now. So I think we will start it. And even if you are late here and you're still scrambling to download the app, don't be afraid. The first question will be a test question. Doesn't give any points. You will still be able to get in the game and be part of this. So just join. You don't need to feel left out. So are you ready, Štěpán?
Yes, let's do this.
Me too. Let's do this. So it's a Power BI quiz, and it's actually season 5, episode 3.
Whoa.
So the first test question: what is the name of Microsoft's new unified end-to-end analytics platform? And I should have corrected the answer this time. It doesn't give points. It's a test to show you guys how it works if it's the first time you're participating here. So is it Microsoft Power Lake? Is it Microsoft Fabric? Is it Microsoft Orange? Or is it Microsoft Mesh? Do you think you know this one?
I would definitely go for Orange.
All right, no points, but we know how this works now. So let's move on to the actual questions. Questions number 2 here. Always starting with the multi-select. What can I use to append 2 tables below each other? And here you can choose more than one answer, and you need to click the submit button before you can get your points. So, can we use table combine? Can we use an ampersand? Can we use table join? And can we use table union? How many of these can we use? And which of them won't work? You're smiling. Do you think there's did you put a trick in here?
I wouldn't say a trick, but
so table combine and ampersand.
Yeah, table combine and ampersand is 100% correct. You can use them both to combine it. Table.union is here actually the trick one, because in case of a lists, we have the list combine and list.union, but not in case of a tables.
So there was a little trick in there. So let's see if someone was, obviously someone may have stumbled on this, but there was quite a few people who didn't fall for your trick. So the next one, we have to type an answer. So what two characters can be used for coalesce in Power Query? And you have to type the answer. So if this is the actual command, it's a 2-character command to do a coalesce. So if you don't know it, it's probably going to be a wild guess. And if you know it, I think you should. There's not a lot of 2-character commands in Power Query. I mean, overall.
Actually,
Actually,
I will disagree with that. Oh, yes. Someone drop it here. Because, it's a double question mark. If you would have a column name, double question mark, and another column name, it will do a coalescence between these 2 columns. And you can chain it between more columns. And it's much easier than using the if statement. So
absolutely.
Go for it.
Because you have to avoid these large trees of nested if statements.
Yes.
You just have a clean, long chain of coalesce. Yeah. And that was 2 people. So it was Bernard and we can't see who else. Was it Nexus? He just kept his first place by getting this run. So next question number 4. What function makes text comparisons case insensitive? Is it text.insensitive? Is it compare.equals? Is it compare.ordinal ignore case? Or is it value.compare?
We've received lots of answers right now.
See, we have a comment here from Donald Parrott. Someone's been looking into the Power Query language docs.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So, do you want to say something about this one?
Yeah, I would like to. Because this question is here because lots of people actually don't know that you can have a comparison between text in case sensitive way. So mostly what I'm able to see at customers and on lots of trainings is that people are modifying to text to transform it into the upper or lower and then combine it together. You don't need to do that. Just go for compare.ordinal ignore case and it's done.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we achieve the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's not superior in the sense other than it's simpler.
It's simpler, and also this comparer is faster because you don't need to do a transforms.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Let's see if that changes things.
Oh,
someone was dropped out of the top 5. I didn't get it. I didn't quickly see who that was, but
neither did I.
That gave a lot of other people a chance to catch up, which is good. So let's move on to the next question, because you brought so many questions today that we should have some of a pace here. So question number 5 out of 19. How do the input parameters of the list.generate function follow each other? So this is a puzzle where you have to select the right order. So we gave you more time. This will not be something you necessarily can do in 10 seconds, but you need to actually list these in the order that you have to use them in a list generate function.
We already have 2 answers. Someone was pretty quick.
And there's time enough to look up the documentation if you want to do that.
Yeah, definitely for this one.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I really needed to put list generate here. Why? Because it's one of my top favorite functions that you can have inside the Power Query. It can help you optimize a lot of procedures, and also it can solve the paginations around the downloading the API. Yeah. So list.generate is definitely worth to know, and at least 2 of us here were able to set it up properly.
So I'm curious, and we will never get this answer, or never get this answered. But I'm curious if it was the first 2 people who were very quick, or if it was, just someone who was lucky.
Credit.
But we have Dana and Nexus.
So cool. So Nexus is in fire.
So you guys, was it a lucky guess or did you know it? I'm curious to hear. Don't keep us in the guessing. Cool. But let's move on to question number 6. What optional parameter can be added to the table group function to maintain the sorted order by a key column? Is it sort persist? Is it group kind local? Is it sort preserve? Or is it group kind sorted?
2 answers, 3 already, 4, 6. It's appearing quickly.
So you add this to the table group function?
Yes.
To sort order by the... Okay.
It's a
and the answer
group
is
kind
group kind
local. Yeah, it can sound a little bit strange. But actually, what it will do is that it will grab data as you have it, and it will start doing grouping. But before you will try this, be prepared on that you will need to sort it before you will use it, because it can create bins slightly differently that you would expect if you would not sort it precisely.
So you need to sort it before?
Yes, you need to sort it before it, because then the group by will not be doing any sorting. It will just grab your data and it will start doing bins.
But you also need to do something like a table buffer in between to make sure...
No, for group kind local, you don't need to do that.
Cool, good to know. Right, so...
Whoa, it changed again.
It does, and Nexus lost a bit of the lead from not getting this one right.
At least for a first time.
Yeah. Question number 7. What data type will result in the following operation? Will result from the following operation? Is it when you have a date and you add a duration with a plus sign inside your function? Will you end up with a duration data type? Will you end up with a date data type? Or will you end up with a date time or error? People were very quick.
Yeah, but this was a trick.
Said date time. Yeah,
this was a trick, because actually, if you will try to combine date and duration, you would expect to receive a date time.
Absolutely.
But you will still receive a date, because it's persistent in case of a date type. So it will just add the date values from a duration into the date. You can try it on your own. You will see.
I need to check this out. It seems, but does date hold hour, minutes, and seconds?
If you will save a date into the data set, it will be nullated. So you will have still 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. And from a Power Query perspective, after this operation, it's still a date.
Got it. And Donald's saying here, quick but wrong. And this goes for many of the people who answered here, which was
that was a trick.
It was a trick. And a lot of people fell for it. And it actually made maybe top 5 even more interesting now, because again, Nexus is not having this dominant lead anymore. Only 1 or 2 questions between first and second. And with that, we will move on to question number 8. So is it true or false? Is there a way to get cells with a specific color from Excel using Power Query? So we're talking about the cells in Excel, which have a color value. And it's a value in the cell. Can we get this metadata using Power Query? Is it true or false? And people say true.
Yes, it's true.
It's true.
You're able to receive the metadata of that. But it's more trickier than you would expect, because if you will ask by Excel connector,
I expect that we could do it, so it's not more trickier than. But yeah, so tell us, how do we do it? What is
if you would like to do that, you need to uncompress the Excel. On case of Power Query. So you will expand that on XML files that are covered inside the XLSX package, and then you can combine it together.
Basically, you have to take the file apart
and
then dig into it, and then you get out this information.
Yes.
Okay. So it's possible, but is it practical? Probably not.
Probably not, but still it's doable.
It's
And
doable.
it's good to say everything can be done. So.
Absolutely. Cool. Some people many people actually got this one right. I have a feeling that they guessed that you wouldn't have asked this question if it wasn't possible.
Yeah, someone
So
knows me.
moving on to question number 9. How to set the data type of a column to be a nullable text. You do this by using the word nullable before the exact data type name. Or are all data types nullable? Or do you use meta and then brackets nullables equals true? Or is nullability something you cannot set in the M language? Again, not an easy question. You wanted to bring this because it's going to be more important, at least now.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate why that is?
Yes, exactly. Lots of people would expect that all data types in case of a Power Query are actually nullable. If you will load our data into the dataset, it will handle everything, even if the column can be nullable or not. But these days, around the fabric with data flows Gen 2, you're creating the Pocket delta tables. And for them, you need to set up if something should be nullable. And if you will try to push null into something that is not nullable, you will went into the error. So you need to exactly set up the type of a column as a nullable text. If it will be some more complex data type, like int64.type, you will do that by nullable.type brackets int64.type and close the brackets.
Yeah, but that's a really good tip. And this is a pitfall that many people could fall into because they have something that's working in Power BI Desktop, and now they want it working in Dataflow Gen 2, and they want to maybe store this data in their lakehouse, and they will run into this problem if they don't know about this little.
I'm saying quite often that Power BI Desktop allows you to do much more that you should be able to do. And that's why it's good to really know what you're writing into your code.
Absolutely. So 3 people guessed this one. Okay, not guessed. 3 people most surely knew this, and those people were at least
Raphael, Bernard, and we don't know who was the last one.
We don't know who was the last one, but the field is narrowing down. I mean, it's getting tighter and tighter. So that will be interesting, and we will move on to question number 10. This is a double point, so this can really change things up. What is causing the Power BI service to tell me that I have a dynamic data source and therefore cannot update it? And you mean refresh here, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So what makes it not able to refresh in the Power BI service? Is it if I'm passing part of an address of the resource within the relative path? Or is it if I cannot verify that the resource address does not change during query execution? Is it if I'm using parameters in the list.select function, or is it because the data source is not available in Power BI Desktop?
Yes, we allowed you here to select red or blue, and both of them we've set up as we will accept them.
Both could be argued for.
Yeah. But why? Actually, it's because in case of a Power BI service, you still need to set up the privacy levels up on your data source. And if somehow your address against the data source would be changeable, Power BI service will not be able to precisely set up the privacy level against this data source. And in that case, it's a dynamic source. So if you would like to have a dynamic, grab the base address, put it into the URL, and by the relative path, set up everything that can be changeable. It will work. And that's another case when Power BI Desktop allows you to do much more than a Power BI service.
Yeah. And on top of that, I find that a lot of people are not aware of this, but if you want to add dynamic parameters to your URL, you can actually use the actual function within web.contents that allows you to inject parameters in a non-string based way, but in a proper way, and that will actually refresh in the service if we use the proper syntax. So it's not about not being able to do this, it's about actually understanding all the inner workings of what we can do with web.contents.
Exactly. That's why we have here the relative path, because besides that, we can also have here the query, headers, or another part like a content.
Yep. Can even add an API key name, so we can then not have to hardcode the API key into it. But then again, we cannot refresh it in the service because that way of authenticating is not supported in the service. So there are many fun tweaks around API.
Yes.
Let's move on and see how this changed up the score. We have
wow,
it's getting even closer.
First 3 positions are incredibly close.
There are like a quarter of a question apart now. And I think not anything is lost for anyone still. I mean, there's plenty of time to catch up. And we'll move on to question number 11. So what can we use to keep specific columns and create empty columns for not existing? Can we use, oh God, bracket existed dot well, you know, guys, this one you can read yourself. I will not be able to go through these. Existed, non-existed, question mark, or existed, non-existed in double brackets, or existed, non-existed, double brackets and question mark, or existed, non-existed. People are
so 5 people actually knows the answer, and I'm pretty happy for that.
Ricardo is saying lucky shot. So maybe not. Maybe 4 people do this answer. And welcome to Alejandra, who just joined. Sorry, you will probably be behind in points, but nevertheless, if you go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin, you can still join for just the fun of it. And So did you want to explain something about this one?
Yeah, a little bit. I would say most of Power Query users or Power Query developers know that you're able to use indexes up on your tables. So you can use a curly brackets to extract exact row, or these square brackets for column. But if you will chain it together, like this we have here, you can use it besides the table.select columns. So you can exactly set up the column that you would like to have. And if you would like to not receive error in case of someone will change the name of a column, you can still do that by adding the question mark on the end.
Cool, very cool trick. So,
whoa.
The top 2 just advanced the lead, and Nicola gone back on the board. So Nicola, you are only like 2 questions behind Nexus. There's still definitely more time to do that, and maybe you will be able to do that with the next question number 12. So this is a type answer again, and one that gives double points. So what function allows you to insert your own SQL or SQL and simultaneously apply query folding to other steps in the procedure? So this is a way to do actual SQL querying when we load in the data, but still subsequent steps to be able to query fold. Because this is not the default. If we use the default way of using our own SQL statement, it will not be query foldable. So we need a different function. And this one, I mean, you have 30 seconds left. This one is, I know it exists in the Microsoft documentation.
Yeah, it exists here.
Do you know why this is not just the default? Why it's made so that it's not query folding? I don't have the answer either.
I will wait for the ticking, and yay, we have here some.
Someone said just what?
What?
I don't know if it is a what they're confused with what you even mean, or it's a what they didn't know this was possible. So if it's the second, I think you can.
Actually, the value native query doesn't support only connection against the SQL databases. It can be used against much more data sources where you can pass the native query that you will prepare in a native language. And for some of them, you can also add the parameter enable folding true. If you do that, you will allow Power BI, or let's more precisely said, the Power Query, built up on your query other subqueries in case of a query folding. So maybe why it's not a default, it's because this function is not just for SQL servers, but it can be used for much other functions.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe also because if we allow us to state what should be the query we send to a database from a DBA point of view, maybe they want to make sure that Power BI doesn't change this query. Even though it can make it simpler, it could also make it more complex.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Great. Some people knew it. Some people said. We had Nicholas saying that this was an easy one. Maybe he's using this on a daily basis. It could be. And Donald Parrish is happy that we actually allowed the one where it was only native query, because we kind of anticipated someone would do the shortcut here.
Yeah, we had here 4 different versions that we were accepting.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Cool. Let's move on to question number 13. It's a multi-select, so you can select more than one right answer. So what data types cannot work with the ... operand?
Another 2-chart operand.
True. So is it decimal number? Is it date? Or is it text? Or is it duration? And it is. It's only text it doesn't work with.
Yes.
If you know what it does, maybe it's easier to guess.
Definitely. This operand is creating the continuous list between the first point and the last point. And it can be used for texts on a character map. So you can generate the whole alphabet, or even another chars that you can have from character map. But also you can use this for numbers, but whole numbers. It has to be integer int 32 only. So you can very quickly create the list of all numbers between 1 and million, for example.
Yeah. But how do you create the difference between 1.1 and 2.3? There's actually infinite numbers in between if you're looking at decimals.
Yeah, but still you can do that by list.numbers,
Absolutely.
where you can set up the step.
Yes. But that's not part of the ... command here. Cool. So.
First place has changed.
Nat took the first place now here. So good job. Good job. Let's see if you can, in the next question, keep this first place in question number 14. So it's a multi-select again. What native function will create a custom function whose code will be linked to the code of the template query? Is it expand columns? Is it create function? Is it reference query? Or is it combine files? And it was a multi-select?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a multi-select. And this is actually only UI-related question that we have here for today.
It is.
And I would say this is a great question to show people when you're trying to teach them how to create functions inside a Power Query, because this can be their entrance to this world.
Cool. So 2 correct answers. We can use create function or with create functions or with combine files.
Yes, exactly. In both cases, it will create a function in your queries, and this function will be connected with a previous query from which one you've created this function, and any update on this query will be automatically propagated directly into the custom function.
Yeah. But it has, as far as I remember, it has the requirement that you need at least 1 parameter inside of your. It doesn't.
It doesn't have to. It will ask you if you really if you really want to create a function without a parameter. Still, after that you can add them. If you create normal parameter, grab it, put it into the basic query, it will propagate this parameter into the function.
Yeah. And as you said, it's a good way to get started and see how the syntax works. Because after learning the syntax, you may also just create the function yourself, because the syntax is actually pretty simple once you get a hang of it.
Yeah.
Cool. And nothing really changed. Some got points, some got more points than others. It's hard to keep track of exactly who took a little more lead, but I think we were pretty much the same place as before. So good job to Bernard for keeping up this first place. Should we see if he's able to do this also for question number 15? It's a true or false one. So when creating your function, can you place a mandatory parameter after an optional one?
Yeah, another function related question.
There are functions natively that have optional parameters in between.
No, it cannot be done.
No, I mean functions that we are not creating, but functions in our catalog. I mean, we do have functions, I believe, where you have optional parameters in between, don't we? Like you can add multiples.
You can have multiple optional parameters. Yes,
exactly, and then there can be some.
Yeah, then you can change their positions. But after setting the mandatory ones, you cannot go. After setting the optional ones, you cannot go back for mandatory ones. You can little bit hack it to do these optional parameters as a nullable. And not set them as optional, but as a mandatory.
Mandatory but nullable, and then you make your own pseudo optional one.
Yeah,
that's a cool hack. But again, probably a bit hard to understand for someone who's opening the code and didn't know why this was made. So that deserves a comment if you do this. Let's see. 5 people were correct here, and Nicola used this to climb to position number 3. Definitely still having a shot to go for the victory here. I believe there are at least 1 more double point in the last question, so that should very much be doable here. Are you guys ready for the next question? Question number 16. It's a multi-select again. Which functions can get a response header from a web call? Is it web method head, value.type, value.metadata, or web.headers? So for people who are maybe using the UI, and this is the first time they talk about advanced query. I mean, I feel bad for everyone out there. It's a very hard quiz for those. But can you explain what is a web call in this context and why these two are the responses we get?
The web call, from the UI perspective, you can go for get data from a web. If it will be normal call against some normal website where you will receive a JSON or CSV or text file, it will automatically use for you web.content, which is a function that can be used to downloading data from APIs. If you will try to scrape the websites, it will not use web.content, but web.browser content that is not refreshable on Power BI service level. So every time it's much better to use web.content. And if you are asking for answer from any server or from any API, you're receiving and also sending some headers inside your calls. And you can use or you can need these headers to create a pagination or based on status code like 200, 404, 403, set up some another requests against this call.
Cool.
And yeah, for both of them, you can use web.headers, which is a new function in a Power Query. I think it's 3/4 of a year old. Or you can directly call for value.metadata and grab from a received record the headers.
And I think even as far as I remember, we can even do it in the UI. If you use the get data and you step back in the steps it generates, I think you can go back to the top step and you will have metadata as an object. I'm not sure, could follow up on that, but I think there may be a right way around this. Let's find out after the quiz here. So a lot of people were right here. Nexus retook the lead, and people are saying that this is not their day today. But this is also one question harder than the other. So very
sorry,
good job
everyone.
for those who keeping in the lead. It is very clear that we do have some Power Query experts among the participants here. So anyone who's not in the 9,000 of points now, don't feel bad at all. This is pretty impressive here. So someone is saying, yeah, just aiming for the leaderboard. Good goal. Let's move on to question number 17, which is a double point question. What will be returned if the following array is not found in the data source? And then you just give here a bunch of code that for someone who doesn't know, has no idea what this means. And then based on this input here, it can either give here for one, it gives error, and for the second one, it gives error, or for the first one, it gives null and null, or error, null, and null, or error. So we need here to find out, which one here is correct. This is a mean question.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But it gives
it's a
null
and error.
So a lot of people were correct here. Did you guess? Did you go with the always choose the fourth one, or always choose the longest one, or something? Or did you actually know this question? But Stefan, will you explain it?
Yeah, of course. In a case when you're extracting data from JSON or from a record list or table that are inside your column, you can directly deep dive in them by calling the internal indexes. And it can be indexed for a column or for a rows. It doesn't matter if we are calling that for a list or for record, because record is similar as a column and the list is same as a row. And there are question marks. We can use these question marks to mitigate the errors. If our path will not be found, and there's the question mark, we will still receive the null, at least something. But if there will not be the question mark and the path will not be found, we will receive an error. So it will stop the refresh process.
Cool.
This I would maybe just add one more point. If you're downloading data from API, lots of APIs are not returning the namespaces if they are null, because why would someone would need to send that? In that case, it's much better to strictly define that you're requiring to receive this column, but with a question mark, because then when it will arrive, you will have a data. If it will not arrive, you will still at least have a null, not an error.
Yeah, good point. Good point. To create more robust API ingestion or data loading. This didn't change much, but we do have Nicola, who is now a few more points behind, and still two people very, very, very close now fighting for that first place. And it is a winner takes it all. So second place is not going home with the prize, other than the honor of getting this many points in this quiz. But it do means that speed will be a factor here in the last
Two
few
more
questions. Two more
Yeah.
questions. Speed will be a factor unless someone blunders and answer wrong and the other one gets it right. So with that said, let's move on to question number 18. If you used the table profile function for some of your queries and then applied the filter that counter needs to be larger than 500, what is the result? We either will get an error because the counter column will not be found, or the table with columns that have, we will have a table with columns that have more than 500 rows, or error because the value in the counter column is a number, or table with columns that have less than 500 rows. So what will their result be here? Will it be an error? Will it be a table? Will it be one error? Or it will be an error. It will be an error because the counter column will not be found.
Which is quite surprising, because actually, if you will call for table.profile, there will be column that is actually called counter. And even by UI, you can click on it and set it that you would like see all values that are greater than 500. Still, you will receive an error.
Oh, wow.
You know, because Power Query is lazy evaluated. And from its perspective, it thinks that table profile is not necessary. So it will skip it from the evaluation. So it will actually not create the table that you've seen before. So, but if you still would like to filter this table, go for a buffer.
Yep, absolutely. Anytime it skips something that we would have liked to have saved, table buffer.
Yeah.
Or buffer, yeah. Cool. But three people, were they one of the first and second place? Ooh.
Whoa, it's here.
Wait, no, they both actually answered it correct, but Bernard was just quicker and actually took the lead on this. So that means we're down to one question left with only a little less than 100 points of difference. And I think we can safely say that that Nicola doesn't have a chance anymore. Sorry, unless, because even if it's a double point, not possible, but still you could fight for the honor of getting above 10,000 points, which would be a pretty neat feat for this quiz, I think. So everybody ready for the final question, who will determine the race between Nexus and Bernard? Stefan, you're not ready? Oh, you are ready, yeah.
Yeah, I'm already ready, and it's a double point question. So be fast.
It will be a double point question, yeah. Nicola wants to know if we didn't add a triple point questions. This is not a possible thing in Kahoot. It would be fun, yeah. Do this last question and just make it 20 times points, and it would be the only thing that mattered. No, unfortunately, that's not the case, but it will be a double point. So let's get started with the final question, number 19. Multi-select and double point. So actually it could be more than 2,000 points, maybe. Which of these metadata can be used as the documentation that will be displayed for the custom function? Documentation.name, documentation.long description, documentation.description, and documentation.example. So there can be more than one correct here. And if only one of them is not correct, it's 0 points. And if you choose or there will be more points. And Nicola, for you, I don't remember if you can get more than 1,000 points and then double here. So maybe you have a chance here. I'm very curious to see how this changes things. So all of them are possible.
Yes, all of them are actually possible because.
And only 2 people got the blue one.
And this is a tricky question because inside the documentation, you will be able to find that there's a documentation description. But documentation long description is synonym for documentation description. So both of them can be used.
Why?
Don't ask me. I don't know. I never received the answer for that.
No. We have an already long command here, documentation.description. Why would we add a documentation.long description? Anyway, that's not of our concern. It is something we can do. So let's see if someone got all four that was part of this top people here. So on the podium we have on third place Nicola. Congrats. Woo! You got above the 10,000 points. Was actually impressive. Next is on the second place, and that means the winner who takes the prize will be Bernard.
Bernard. Woohoo! Congratulations.
Good job. Really nice having you guys. It was a hard quiz this time. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, it's nice to see the interaction in the chat and all the nice comments. I really enjoyed that part of it. And wish you all a fantastic evening, and just so happy to have you here today, Štěpán, and hope you enjoyed it as well.
Thanks for having me. I'm pretty happy for everyone who was attending this quiz. I know it was a hard quiz, but I'm very, very happy that you've tried to test your skills. And as you can see, you should not be scared of a Power Query.
Absolutely not. And we can do more than we can with just the UI.
Yes. And thank you so much.
So goodbye, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Bye.